So you are here for the next instalment in our intermediate webinar series. My name is Nikki Kimball. I am one of the educational consultants here at Just2easy, and we're going to be having a focused look at JIT, which is our Just2easy Infant Toolkit. Now today's session, that is not the right slide. Clearly I did not edit that slide. We are looking at JIT. That really confused me. I forgot to change that title there. So we're going to look at where you can find JIT on your Launchpad. We're going to be having a JIT overview, and as part of that, those of you that are familiar with JIT, you will know that it is 8 tools within one of our tiles. So we are going to be having a look at Paint, Write, Turtle, Pictogram, Chart, which are our sort of key stage 1 tools, and then we'll also be looking at, I know I've put this into key stage 2, but Animate, that really is across the whole primary phase. I would use that. It's a fantastic tool. So we'll look at Animate, Branch for your branching databases, and Mix for your ebook creation. So this is a 45-minute session. I am going to be finishing at 4:15-ish. If any of you who attended my webinars, you'll know that is a strong possibility it might go over. And you can ask questions as we go along in the chat. Mary, one of our Northern Irish consultant, is able to answer any questions that you might have in the chat. But I will be offering a Q&A session at the end, so you can ask me any questions towards the end of the session as well. So let's get straight into it. So we're going to start off with Paint. So we're going to go sort of from our easiest tool to our most complex tool within JIT. And I'm just going to give you an overview of what JIT looks like before we delve into the tools themselves. So JIT can be found on your Launchpad just here. It's this lovely bright yellow one. And it has a very consistent interface within all of the tools within JIT. So as I said, there are 8 tools within JIT. You can find them here along the top right. They're all within different tiles or tabs. So it's a great way of teaching your students digital literacy skills, being able to navigate between different windows, different tabs. The page colour changes colour depending on which tool you're using. So Turtle, the green tab, has a green page. Animate, the pink tab, has a pink page. So that's a great way of you being able to see across a classroom whether your students have gone off on a tangent and they're using an app that they have not been instructed to use. We've all been there. So that's a good classroom management tool, just, you know, being able to look across the classroom. So we have Write, which is for your word processing, Paint, which is for drawing and art, Turtle, which is beginnings of coding, Chart, which is your chart for your statistics, Pictogram for pictograms, Animate, which is stop frame animation, Branch, which is your branching databases, and Mix, which is your ebook creator, and that allows us to use all of the 7 other tools and to add multiple pages to create an ebook. So there we go. You'll notice when we toggle between the tabs, there's too many T's in that sentence, that we are always prompted to choose either a background or a template initially, and then your tools are along the left hand side. So we're in Paint at the moment, so we've got our clip art and our drawing tools, and with Write we've got our font size, font color, and also your word list. So each tool have their own specific tools that you can use within that. So the first thing we're going to look at is Paint. Now I've given you 2 examples here just because I didn't want to discount the Key Stage 2 staff. I personally would still use JIT Paint if I was in Key Stage 2, because I just think it's a fantastic art creation tool. You could create, as you can see here, scientific examples, illustrations, you could create comic books, all sorts. So JIT Paint allows you to choose and add a background. You can also add and edit photographs. It allows you to use basic paint tools. There are advanced paint tools as well, such as the colour picker and the 3D texture tool. You can add clip art images, you can save, and you can also export the images to use in other programs, which is quite important. So just to give you an idea, this is something that I created yesterday. So these are just clip art images of planets added onto a space background. So very quick, very easy. And then we layered some text over the top as well. But what I'm going to do, because it's almost the season, I'm going to say the C word, I'm afraid, almost Christmas. So this might be an activity that you might like to do with your students. Create their own Christmas cards. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So we're going to open up JIT and we're going to open up JIT Paint. There we go. So we've got our blue background. We know we're in Paint. And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to prompt you to choose a background. Now, of course, you can choose a blank background if you want to. There are a number of different clip art backgrounds. There's also some colouring in sheets if you wanted to use them, some maps, and some seasonal templates. And then there's also the transparent background, which is quite a nice tool if you want to create things that aren't square. So if you add anything onto a transparent background, it will save that shape. So that's quite a nice thing to use. But I'm going to choose the Christmas background. Now, just to show you how we add in photographs, that can be done from this page. You go to the Pictures tab, and you can add anything that's already in your My Files. If you created something already, you can add that in. You can Google search. So, for example, let's look for snow. So there we go. I've got some nice snowy scenes there. So I can click these and they will add them in. I can load from external sources, and I can also take a photograph. There we go, showcasing my son's messy bedroom. It's the only quiet space I've got. So I'm going to click on that asterisk to bring that back up again. So that would be how you would add in photographs if you wanted to edit photographs. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to choose my Christmas background. So there we go. Now, depending on what background you choose will determine which clip art library showcases. So we've got a Christmas clip art library already, so we can use these arrows and just toggle between the different clip art characters. We can make them bigger or smaller, and we can stamp them on our page like this. Let's find a house. This is a very extensive library, by the way. It's huge. There we go. I'm going to make that much bigger. Add that there. Let's add some snowflakes. Make these much smaller. There we go. We can stamp these around. And of course, it's a left click to stamp it onto your page. You can also rotate these, so you can twist them. There we go. And you can reset that so that it factory reset essentially. Here we go. Let's add a North Pole in there at the top. And of course, we need a snowman somewhere. Let's find our snowman. There he is. And we'll add our snowman there. There we go. Now, I might want to add some text over that, especially if I'm doing a Christmas card. So you can layer some text by opening up another clip art library. So if I click on that clip art name there, that gives me lots of different options. So there's all sorts of clip art libraries. We've got fairy tales, dinosaurs, faces, aliens, plants, mini beasts. But we've also got these text and speech bubbles, so you can utilize those for, you know, kind of inadvertently teaching some literacy skills there. So as soon as I click on that, it will prompt me to choose a font. There's only 3 to choose from. I'm going to choose my impact font, and I can make that bigger by using my left click, and then I can highlight, I can click in this box, delete that out, and I can write a sentence if I can spell. There we go. Merry Christmas. Now I can change the colour of that by clicking on the colours, so I can see what that looks like. It's going to have to be red, isn't it, really? I click on the word and I can stamp that on my page. I can edit that further, so I could say from Nikki, for example, and I could make that smaller. There we go. And there we go. Other things that we can do, I can change the colour of things on that page. So I can start drawing onto my page. So I've got my 11 preset colours, and it always starts with a paintbrush. So I can make my paintbrush bigger or smaller. So I might want to add some more snowflakes here in the sky. Here we go. Some white snowflakes. And there we go. I've also got an eraser, so if I do go horribly wrong, I can erase things out, and that will erase clip art as well. Now it will erase right down to the background. So unfortunately, if you start to layer things up, it will erase both or everything that you have added wherever you are erasing. But then you can add things back in. So we could click back on our paintbrush, and we can add in that snowflake again. We've also got the fill tool here, so I can fill things in. So I could fill in this area, make that bright white. There we go. If I go horribly wrong, I don't like how it looks, I've got my undo button at the top, so I can take that away. Other things that I can do, I've also got my 3D texture tool. Now I'm just going to zoom in here just so you can see these two tools here. They've both got a little button in the bottom right. So these are how we can expand those options. So we've got various 3D textures. So we've got things like water droplets, bricks. Unfortunately, I don't have any snow. So I'm just going to have to showcase this and then take it away. So let's add in this blue texture. Now you can draw with that, or you can fill. So that works in the same way. So let's fill this in and see what it looks like. There we go. Actually, that looks quite nice. Let's stick with that. That's a bit of detail. And then the other thing that we can do is we can colour pick. So this button here will open up my colour wheel. So this is a great way of moving beyond those 11 preset colours that we've got. You can start introducing that kind of artistic language to your students about different colours, different shades. So we can see we've got the entire colour wheel and then various shades in the middle there. So I could choose pink, for example, and I click OK, and I could fill that in with pink if I wanted to. The other thing that I can do, so it's a kind of 2-in-1 really, I can also pick any colour on that page. So for example, maybe I want to choose this kind of grey colour that's here on this screen. I can click that, and that's going to select that colour for me. So now if I click OK, that's kind of an off-white colour. I'll use my fill tool, and there we go. I've changed that white to an off-white kind of colour. And there we go. So that is paint. You would obviously rename your creation. Would help if I could spell, wouldn't it? Oh, I have spelled that right. Christmas card drawing. There we go. And I hit my save button, which is up here top left. Now what's nice about this, it will give your students some feedback, so it will show them that it's saving, but it will also grey out that save button, so they can only save one copy until they make further changes. So for example, maybe we want to reinstate that white snow. Let's change that to white. So now that I've done that, I can of course save again. So when I click save, again, it's going to grey out. So that means when you look at anything as a teacher within your pupils' files, you will always have the most up-to-date version that they have created. Now, the other thing that we can do is we can export that as an image. So that will save the flat image, whereas the other one will save kind of a working file where the children can come back in and edit their painting further. This one will save as a flat image. So I've hit that again, that's going to grey out, and it's going to give them that saving feedback. So just to show you in my files, here is that Christmas card drawing. So if I click that, it's going to open back out into JIT, and your children can edit further. This one is the image. and that is just saved as a picture. So you could print that out, or you could add that into a J2E file, or a presentation file, or a writer file, whatever you want to use. Okay, so that is JIT Paint. Throughout this presentation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to showcase the tool, and then I'm going to give you some activity ideas. So these are mostly harvested from Twitter and Facebook when people have tagged us in things, just to give you some ideas of different uses. So for paint, you could create a hook for writing. So I'm going to zoom in on this. This is a great way of building in your literacy. You could take photographs around your school, around your environment, around your community, and tie it in with your topic. So for example, we've got the aliens have landed here, so that would be a hook for writing. This may be a familiar animated story. So again, that was adding in a cloud background, adding in a house clip art and some balloons and a little boy. So there we go, we've got the basis for some creative writing. Retelling of a familiar story, so they could create the characters for that. Making Christmas cards, different writing genres, so we've got some comic books here, and also art activities. I used to do a fantastic topic around superheroes, and we used to use something that wasn't nearly as easy to use as JIT Paint, but this would be fantastic. You take a photograph against a blank background, makes it easier, of themselves. They take a little selfie and then they paint on their face and the background as well. And then also we've got some pixel art, great for your Key Stage 2, and tying it in with your current artist that you're looking at in art. So there you go, some ideas for you. So we're going to look at JIT Write now. So JIT Write allows you to add backgrounds, add text, edit your text, so your size, your font, your colour. Use word lists for spellings, use text to speech, use speech to text for dictation, and also saving. So this is just an example of an acrostic poem linked into our current topic, which of course is autumn. Don't focus too much on the poetry, because I'm many things, but I'm not a poet, that's for sure. So Write is here, it's this first one, it's this lovely sort of greeny yellowy kind of colour, and again it's going to prompt you to choose a template. Same as Paint, you've got that familiarity, that consistency, so they soon pick up that they've got to choose a template first. There's lots of templates there for you to choose. Okay, so there's your seasonal ones as well as your topic-based ones. And of course, the same as Paint, you've got your pictures. So there's that image that we created earlier. So I could use that as a background image for writing. But I'm going to do a Google search this time, and I'm going to look for autumn. And it's going to bring up some lovely pictures. So I can choose some of these pictures. So let's go for, I'm going to go for one that's slightly less busy. Let's try this one. And that's going to add that onto my background. And you'll see my cursor is already ready to go. And I can just start typing. So for my acrostic poem, I am going to write A, U, hit enter T, U, M, N. All in capitals. Now I can highlight those and I can make them bigger. There we go. And then I knew it's going to do that. So I'm going to finish the rest of my poem, and then I'm going to change the size of the next bit of text. So I'm going to choose a different font. No, actually, I quite like that one. Actually, I am going to choose a different colour. Go for yellow. There we go, that stands out nicely. And I'm going to start typing. Oh my goodness, I'm getting worse in these webinars. Autumn leaves under the sky, trees. I'm going to leave it there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to highlight the elements that we want to make smaller. So I can highlight that, and I'm going to change the size of just that, and I might change the colour as well. There we go. And I'm going to do the same with each line. So there we go, quick and easy. Other things that we can do, we've got our word lists. So depending on which background you choose will determine which word list comes up. So obviously if you're choosing a park background, I think it's a mini beasts word list. If it's the iceberg, it'll be the polar region. Because I've chosen a photograph, it will default to the high frequency words or your top words. So we've got 100 top words here ready to use. So we could add, let's go for R. Trees are I'm going to leave that. Are not. It doesn't make any sense, but there we go. So there we go. Now, because I've left a gap in these, so it is, there we go. I'm going to remove these gaps. Here we go. Now, when I hover over any of these words in the word list, I can click on this speech bubble and it will say that word to me.
Look, Mum.
So that's great for your students. They can listen to the word before they add it onto their file. And they've also got text to speech here in the top right. So that will say whatever is either highlighted or on the entire page. So let's see what happens here.
Autumn leaves, you end of the sky, trees are not, U-M-N.
So not so good with acrostic poems, but you get the idea. So it will say everything, but clearly when it's a bigger letter, it won't in the word. But that's great for your students. Build up their independence. They can reflect on their work. They can listen to it, see if it sounds okay. Obviously, if it's misspelt, it will say it incorrectly as well. So that's good feedback for your students. The other thing that we can do is we can dictate our work using speech to text. So I can click on this and I could say, underneath the sky. That's amazing. It's actually understood my Birmingham accent for once. So there we go. And you have to dictate a sentence at a time, unfortunately. But it does mean that your students then have to add in punctuation if it's needed. So that's quite a good skill to have. So when we're ready, we can add that text in. Now it's added that there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that and I'm going to paste it here. And we will take that away. And then we can resize this. There we go. And make it red. And there we go. Lastly, you can always do this on any JIT file. You can record some linked audio. So for this task, it might be them recording what they've written. For a pictogram task, it might be that they're reflecting on the data and analysing it. If it's a branch, they might be talking about how they classified the data in their branching database. So there's lots of uses for this. So we hit record. And I can record my awful poem. Autumn leaves under the sky, trees are not underneath the sky. I didn't read that through, did I? And then we click OK, and that will link to that as a sound file.
Autumn leaves under the sky
that they can play back. And then of course you've got your save function, and again that's going to save and it's going to grey out. So that is JIT Write. We've added a background, we've added text, edited the text, size, font, colour. We've looked at using word lists, text to speech, speech to text, and we have saved our work. Some ideas for you. So we've got this wonderful school in Wales. They did some beach safety rules, typing that up onto a beach background. We've got this. This is actually a reception class, actually, and their writing is probably better than mine. And they're using the speech to text there. So creating stories from Holton Primary School. We've got online safety writing, so they are creating their own online safety rules on a writing post. And autumnal or acrostic poems, they've done far better than I have, but that's where I stole the idea from. Magpied, sorry, not stole, magpied. So yeah, and I think that is a year 1 class, possibly 2. Right, shameless plug for my live lessons. We are doing live lessons every month. They are either the 2nd or the 3rd Tuesday in every month, depending on where the school holidays fall. And these are recorded and available on YouTube. So this particular live lesson will show you how to use JIT Paint and JIT Write in an all about me lesson. So the idea is you play it at the front of your class on your board, the students follow along, you follow along, you get an idea of how to teach using the tools, and it's all in a sort of wraparound context. So we do have 2 coming up that may be of interest. We've got 12th of December, we've got painting a Christmas scene using JIT Paint. That's for reception and year 1. We do have some more, so that is on YouTube ready for you to have a look at. Here we go. Didn't want to play it, but it is there. So on our YouTube channel, which is Just2easy TV, in the live section, if you scroll down, you can find that there. There's also a JIT Paint and Animate one as well. JIT Turtle. This is the beginnings of coding, your computational thinking, your algorithmic language. So this allows you to add a background, to add a sprite if you want, to program the sprite using basic commands, debug algorithms, so find out where your algorithm and your programming has gone wrong. It has a simple mode and an advanced mode. And there are templates available with increasing levels of complexity. So Turtle is here. It's the green page. And it has the templates. Now, these are ordered in levels of complexity. So you start with the big bad wolf, you move on to space, onto desert adventure, moving down to Cinderella. So when you open them up, they will be preloaded with a sprite. So this is a great way to get your students just used to using sprites, directions, using that language. So we've got 6 instructions here: pen down, up, pen up, right, backwards, and left. That should be forwards, of course, not up. And we have a simple mode and an advanced mode. Now, when you are in simple mode, the sprite will follow along with each instruction. So if I use the forwards button and the forwards button, you can see that he moves and I can navigate him around the screen. So that is quite an easy cause and effect kind of activity. The students can play that back to see what it looks like in full. And they can press the home button and that will take that sprite back to where it started. The other thing they can do is they can maneuver these algorithms here. So for example, let's see what happens if we move this right down 1. And we can, of course, delete any algorithm by just clicking on that cross and that will take that away. So let's see how that has changed that particular outcome. And there we go. We can see that he's ended in a different place. Now we can add in things like pen down. And we can move that. I'm going to move that pen down, so I'm going to rearrange that so it happens right at the start. Let's see what happens now. So there we go. Quite quickly and easily, they're picking up how to program. Now, the advanced version, if I go home, and in fact, if I clear all commands, now the commands will happen, but the student has to predict where the sprite is going to end up. And you might not be able to see very well, but there is actually a grid, quite a light grid there. So the students can count how many steps. They can count the grids. They 1, 2, 3. They need to go 3 forwards. There we go. And then and then they need to turn right, and then 1, 2, 3 forward. So we go right, 1, 2, 3, and let's see if that ends up on this house that we're predicting. And yes, it has. So that's the difference between the simple and the advanced options. Now you do have the option to choose a blank background, or you could, I've seen some schools do this, they've created their own background with their own characters in certain places. Now your sprite probably won't hit those things unless they're very exact with the image that they've created, but it could be a nice starting point for creating their own computer game that they have programmed. I haven't done very well, I haven't added in a background, but for example, if we use this as our background, we can add in a sprite by clicking on the plus button, and there are various ones that you can choose from. Now unfortunately there's no Santa and there's no flying reindeer, so we'll have to go with a person, unfortunately. But you can determine where that person ends up. So you could have, right, we're going to start at here, we're going to hit the house, the snowman, the Santa, and then back to the elf. So we would go, let's go for simple because it might be a bit difficult for me. And we're going to go left and forwards, 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 forwards. Oh, it's going to just miss our snowman. There we go. Right, left even, forwards, forwards, left. So there we go. So we've created our own very simple game that doesn't work 100%, but you get the idea. And then of course we would title our game, so Christmas game. I feel like I'm spelling that incorrectly, but it's definitely spelled right. And then we're going to hit save, same as we have with the others. Okay, so that is JIT Turtle. And here are some ideas. Coding using Turtle with the Grange School, County Down. And this one I thought was quite a nice activity from Clondiff City. Hope I've said that correctly. Writing messages. So they've used their sprite on a blank background to write out letters. So that really gets them thinking about their problem solving skills, their logical reasoning skills, and their algorithmic skills. Okay, we're motoring ahead with Pictogram. I knew 45 minutes was ambitious for this particular webinar. So Pictogram allows you to create pictograms, funnily enough. You can, again, use preset templates, or you can edit or create your own. You can edit the template. You can add in additional selections as well. And you can also edit the labels. So Pictogram is the red tab here. As I said, you've got various different templates to choose from. So we've got pets, fruit, mini beasts, journey, weather. So all the usual context for creating pictograms in class. But we're going to choose, let's choose a blank background. And in fact, let's go with the Halloween theme. I'm going to ask them what their favourite Halloween character is. So I'm going to create this pictogram. And I can add this into this box. Now what's nice is, and this is especially nice, I'm just going to get rid of this. This is especially nice when you're on a touchscreen device, a small touchscreen device. You don't have to hover that clip art image over that box because they can be quite small. As long as it's in the area above that box, can you see the box is red? If I click, it's going to add that into the box for me. So let's stick with Halloween. So I'm going to go to Frankenstein. Let's go for mummy, pumpkin, and there's a lot of pumpkins. Skeleton. Wouldn't be Halloween without a skeleton. There we go. So we're going to say, what is your favourite Halloween character? There we go. Spell that. What is going on with my spell check, honestly? So there we go. So we can leave that as it is. We could get students coming up to the board and having a go with this. Alternatively, if you wanted your students to complete this on their own within their own file, you can hit save. You can take the edit permission away, actually. There we go. And now we can go to My Files, and we can hover over that green circle with the white eye, and we can go to Share. And you can share that with your class or individual users or teaching group or all of your classes if you wanted to. So now my students will have a copy of that in their shared files ready to edit and have a go. So the other thing that we should have done, of course, was add in the labels at the bottom. So Frankenstein, Mummy, Pumpkin, and Bones. There we go. And of course I can save that because I've made some changes. So students, when they have a go, they can use these plus buttons and the minus buttons. Let's find out what the favourite character is. And there we go. Our favourite character is the mummy. So we can save that. There we go. That will save with all the data on it. So that's an idea. Favourite chocolate bars. I'm sure there's probably something healthy schools that are against it or something now. But you could do that with vegetables. It's not quite the same effect, is it? But yeah, you get the idea. So some ideas that I found on Twitter. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that school, but that's a bird watching project. So they all went out. It's quite cute to actually look at them. All out looking for birds, and they wrote down, they used Pictogram to write down which birds they saw, and sorting chameleons. So this is nice because I think they have drawn their own chameleons, which is nice. So there you go. So those are 2 ideas for Pictogram. Right, chart. This allows you to create charts of various different types. We've got line, bar, block, and pie chart. So you can use existing templates or you can create your own. You can add data into the table. You can edit the columns, save, and you can also export as an image to use in other programs such as J2E5. So this is just an example. Favourite sweets. Can you tell I've got a bit of a sweet tooth? I'm sure there's probably something against this now. You're probably not even allowed to mention sweets in schools anymore. But all I did was I edited the table, and that will adjust what the chart looks like. So to give you an idea, these are the templates. We've got colours, months, boys, girls, days. But we can create a blank. So let's go for favourite fruit. So apple, I hit enter, go to the next row. Banana, pear, and raspberry. There we go. Now I can add in the numbers that we've got for each. And I can also change the colour of the column. So let's go for green for pear, apple, and banana's got to be yellow, really, hasn't it? There we go. So I think by default it's a block chart, but you can change. You can add in the different charts, see what they look like. You could even add it in all 4 if you wished. And the children can see those side by side. They can see which gives the best visual representation of that data. And they can switch off the ones that they don't want to use. So let's go for a pie chart. There we go. And we can even turn off the table if we wanted to. So that's chart. So you would save under your file name and click save. Now this one, you've also got the save as image. So if you wanted to use that in a J2E5 file, for example, you would click that. If you wanted to print that out as a flat photograph, you would use that save as image and then print for your Y files. Okay. So ideas for chart. We have this, I thought was a fantastic research project as a whole, actually. This was their school fair market research project. and they tied it in with having to find out what sorts of cakes they were going to make, what they were going to sell on their stall. They had to design posters, they had to do the market research, they had to design the ingredients. It was brilliant. So we were there as part of their sort of statistics analysis part of that project. So I just thought it was brilliant. And then we've got tracking activities that raise our heartbeat, again by the same primary school. I think I need to go into this primary school and they can give me some ideas. So they tracked using sensors their heart rates, and they tallied up which activities made their hearts beat faster. So there you go, some great uses. Right. More towards the Key Stage 2 activities now, but Animate, I would use that across the board personally. It's my favourite app. I always used to love teaching stop motion. So it allows you to add a background, either clip art or a photograph. You can edit that background, you can add animated characters, you can draw characters, you can add clip art details like text and speech bubbles, save, and you can export as a GIF, which is what I've done there. So I drew my little character as a paint character. I exported him as a stamp. So I saved as a stamp and then used that as a character. So Animate, I am going to run over here. I'm very sorry. If any of you need to go in 3 minutes, I fully understand. This will be available through YouTube, but I am going to run a good 10 minutes over with this one, I'm afraid. So Animate is here, and the first thing you need to do is choose your background. So I'm going to stick with my Halloween theme because it is October after all. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to find my Halloween theme. Here we go. So there's my Halloween background. Now I can change my background if I wanted to. Maybe I wanted to make that a darker grey colour, for example. I can use my fill tool. There we go. And this will work in almost exactly the same way as Paint. So if you know how to use Paint, you know how to use Animate. But clearly I don't, because I've just done the first frame. So if you want to edit the background, you need to click on the background first and then edit your background. Here we go. Let's try this again. So that has changed the background. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this first frame. So for anybody that hasn't done stop frame animation before, it's a brilliant tool and it's really engaging and motivating for the children. The idea is they have a number of different pictures that have slight differences, and they're run together really quickly to give the illusion of movement. So nothing actually moves, it's just a collection of photographs or pictures. So what we want is we want our character. So I am going to stick with my bat. I'm going to make him face the other way and make him a bit smaller. And in that first frame, so I'm going to click on my bat. I'm going to, in fact, there we go. I'm going to go with my ghost. I'm going to have him kind of across the screen. So you're going to left click on the page where you want your character. Now you need to make sure this first frame is selected, otherwise this won't work. So I'm going to click and I'm going to go to my second frame, which is here. And you'll see I've got a ghost here. It's the first time I think I've said that. This is called onion skinning. So it shows you where your character was in the previous frame. So for an animation to look good, the movement between the frames needs to be quite slight. So you need to add your character slightly to the side and you're going to left click. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to click on the next frame, you're going to add, left click, next frame, add to page. And then at this point, you're going to start adding frames, but you're going to do exactly the same. So you're going to stamp on your page, green plus, 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 stamp on your page. A good animation will be about 250 frames, just to give you an idea of how long an animation activity might take you in your class. For me, it was a 2 lesson minimum usually for teaching this. So now if I press play, there we go, we've got my spooky ghost. So there's lots of things that you could do with this. You could have, one of the easiest ones to have is a snowy day. So there is an iceberg, I think, where you can add dots, and there is an example of that somewhere on the site. And that's a very easy one to get them started with. But as I said, this is quite a big project potentially, but it has a lot of ties. It's cross-curricular. You can use it with lots and lots of different topics. You can add in your own backgrounds from Paint if you export them as image. It's a really nice activity. Okay. And then of course we would save as we normally save. Now this will take a lot longer to save because it'll have a number of different frames. The longer the animation, the longer it takes to save. Now once you and your students have finished your animations, you can export them as a GIF. So this button here will export that as a GIF. So what that means is it just saves it as a video file. So to give you an idea, here's my files. There's the animation, so I can come back into it and I can animate even more. But this is what it will export as once it's finished. So we can zoom in on that. So there's my little animation. Very quick, very easy. Okay. So lots of cross-curricular uses here. We've got animating a seed growing. Now, obviously, I had to screenshot this. It's not a still animation. I couldn't export it out of Twitter, unfortunately. But that was a lovely project. Animating the coronation. So they came in the Monday after the coronation and they animated what they had seen. This one was a nice activity, animating conversations in French. So great way to tie in your modern foreign languages there. So that was nice. And also animating a familiar story. So this was Superworm, posted by Mrs. Jones. And I think this was a collective effort by either a reception or a year 1 class. So it can be used right across the school. Another shameless plug, there is a live lesson showing you how you can teach using this. So this is a JIT Paint and Animate. So we create our own background in JIT Paint, export it and then use it as a background in Animate. And that is Christopher the Crocodile, and that is geared towards years 2 and 3. So have a look at that on YouTube. Now Branch allows you to classify data, add data, uses prompting questions to classify the data. There is a simple and an advanced mode, and obviously your saving function. So this is an example. This is a Guess Who game. Now I've just used faces from the Faces clip art library, and this is something I would love to do, and for a school to do this and tweet or share it with us on Facebook. I would love you to get your students to take photographs of each other. So you've got your photography skills there, and then to classify the whole class as a Guess Who game. I just think it would be such a fantastic activity. So please tweet about it or add us on Facebook if that is something that you are going to be doing. So Branch is here. Now you've got your different backgrounds. I personally like the blank background, but you can use any of the backgrounds that you want to. And we've got our libraries here. You've also got the ability to search. So for example, maybe we want to look for a sea lion. Where that came from. So we could just have clip art. So if we untick that include photos, that will bring up some clip art, she says. Is that one word? There we go. So I can drag my sea lion onto my page. You can also add words in if you wanted to. I'm going to stick with some animals. So let's go for some really obvious animals. Let's go for crocodile. Okay, so you can add, I think, up to 20 pieces of data onto the tree. I need to check that. It's at least 20. And then we click the sort. Now, the difference between simple and advanced, if I click advanced, you then have descriptions. So this allows you, this is a great way of building this in. I know it features in the year 4 maths curriculum, year 3 or 4 maths curriculum for classifying data, but I'm pretty sure it then features in the year 6 science curriculum. So this would be a nice way to revisit it in year 6 and to build on those skills. They have to go away and research some facts, add them into the description, and then use those as a way of classifying. So use those in the questions, you know, which animal has, I don't know, weighs more than 20 kilograms or 2 ton or whatever. So there you go. So those are the 2 differences. And then we use sort, and we're going to sort with a question. Do I live in the water? We're going to say, yes, I do. So we drag the ones that do this side and the ones that don't to this side. And then we click OK. It's going to ask us for another question. So we're going to say, do I have am I green? No, that's not right, is it? Do I have a big mouth with teeth? Obviously, you would spend longer thinking about those questions than me. And we're going to classify those. And then we're going to say, am I a reptile? I'm hoping chameleon is. Please don't come at me if it's not. And there we go. Am I a reptile? And that has created our data tree, our branching database. So we can play that. So for example, maybe I'm thinking of a whale instead. So do I live in the water? Yes. Do I have a big mouth with teeth? Yes. Is that the right answer? No. So what I can do is I can add a new item. So I can say yes. So let's look for a whale. And I can let's add this whale. So I could say, do I live under the sea? Yes, no. And there we go. That has adjusted my branching database for me. You can edit these questions by clicking on those buttons. Your children can also record themselves saying those sentences. But there is also text-to-speech on these, so you can listen to those sentences as well.
Do I live in the water?
So you can hear those questions. And then, of course, they would save their water branching database. There we go. And then you'll hit save, and that will save to their My Files. Okay. So ideas for mix. We've got classifying animal data. I thought this was really impressive, actually. So there you go. Far better use of language than me. And I should memorize that and use that as my example. We've also got year 2 from Eveswell Primary. So that was Kingswood Primary. They based this on their topic book, which was The Skies Above My Eyes. And then they used that to determine questions about how to classify different things they find in the sky. And then this one was nice as well, by Monkton Priory School, Victorian Inventions. So they classified those. Brilliant. Right, we're on the last bit now, so I'm sorry for running over. I knew I should have made this an hour. So Mix allows you to create an ebook. So we can choose different page layouts, we can choose different JIT tools, we can create an ebook with different pages, we can record sound, edit text, use the accessibility tools like speech to text, text to speech, and word lists. You can save, and you can also view in view only mode. So this is an example. This is a retelling of a familiar story. So my students have drawn this in Paint, and they've started to create the different pages. So there we go, we've added in a photograph with some text over the top, another photograph, and then we've got an animation here with my characters moving together. So it's a nice retelling of the story. So Branch opens up slightly differently, and I think this kind of puts people off using it because they don't really know what it does. So the first thing we need to do is we need to choose a page layout. So there are four different pages to choose from. So by default, it will showcase the tool with the writing underneath, but you've also got the tool with the writing down the side, 4 different tools, and an individual tool. So I'm going to choose this one, but then once you've chosen your page layout, then you choose which tool you want to use. So for example, maybe I want to have a paint page as my heading, as my front page from my book. So these arrows will scroll through the different apps, tools. So for example, a green page is a turtle page, an orange page is a chart page, Pictogram, Animate, Branch, Write, and Paint. So when you've chosen the tool and the format for the page, you then click the tick and that will add that page for you. So we can, using this asterisk here, we can choose a background if we wanted to, and we could start drawing over the top. We've also got our stamps. We can start using some stamps. So let's look for 3 little pigs, for example. We can stamp these on here. There we go. And the wolf. Let's look for the wolf. Let's put him in the background. There we go. You can edit those the same as you would with paint, so we can add in some grass there. Which isn't working. The fill tool isn't working. What a shame. And you can also click on the page there, and then we can add in. So this will change to sort of a write option. So we've got the different fonts here. So we could say the 3 Little Pigs by Miss Kimball. And there we go. We've got our word lists and all the things that we found with write. Now we can add another page. So this could be a completely different page. So for example, maybe we've done an animation. So we just want an animation page. We can scroll till we find the animation. Now you can animate straight into this. You can use the tools as they have been doing. Or if they've already created it in Animate, for example, you can click on this button in the top. And this will open up into your animations. So because we've chosen an animation page, it's only going to show you the animations that we've made. I'm not sure, I've got 3 Little Pigs actually. Let's go for Matilda, why not? So here is Matilda with her flying books. So that's another idea for you. Roald Dahl day. So you can create content straight onto the pages, or you can add pre-made content. This is a great tool, I think personally, for things like your pictograms or your charts, because you can then write about that data. So for example, let's add in a pictogram that we've already created. So this is the pictogram that we created earlier. So what is your favorite Halloween character? And now we can analyze that. So we could say the most popular costume was the mummy. Obviously that's too big, so I can change how small that writing was. And you can make it really small if they want to add lots of writing. Okay. So it's great use of the tools. You have got a text-to-speech here.
The 3 Little Pigs by Miss Kimball.
Which apparently only says the front page. We need to get that fixed. You can record sound, which will link to that document, and then you can click save. So that they can save week in, week out. Again, if I was to be back in class, I would probably get my students over a year 2. I would probably get them to do one of these per half term, and each computing lesson or each lesson that they're using Just2easy to add another page. And then you've got it together as an evidence book. Last bit, I promise, and then I will let you go. So mix, you can view that in view only mode. So if I hover over that mix book, go to the green circle, I've got that open in view mode. So this will open like a little book. And all the animations will play. And this will all showcase. Okay. So that is mix. So some ideas, writing about people we care about in Welsh. So that was a nice activity. Writing postcards from the polar bear home. So that was linked into No Place Like Home, and they wrote postcards. And then writing a fact file of 3D shapes in JIT mix. So there we go. I have got a live lesson, and that is coming up on the 24th of October, 10:45 to 11:30. Years 3 and 4, we'll be looking at the SMART rules. So using JIT mix to create their own SMART rules ebook. So join us for that one. And you'll be glad to know that I am done. That was a long one. I'm sorry. If you need to get in touch with us, edteam@j2e.com. We're also on Facebook. Please tag us in anything that you're creating, and also on X, formerly known as Twitter. And as I said, we're on YouTube. There is a link to the live lessons are here, and the webinars are here. So I will be adding this to our webinars playlist, so you can access this webinar then. And there are some recorded live lessons there as well. So have we got any questions? Have we got anybody left is more the question. I'd be impressed if there's lots of you left. Well, there's a few of you left. That's quite, thank you for staying. I'm going to see if there's any questions now in the chat. No. Brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much for sticking around. I'm sorry I ran over. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we hope to see you for another webinar soon. Okay, thanks. Bye.